Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Dandavat pranams. Hare Krishna.
Audible?
Yes, Prabhu. Very clear. Just 1 minute, Prabhu. Yeah. Hare Krishna, devotees. Welcome to the Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Today we have the privilege of having His Grace Narahari Chaitanya Prabhu, and he'll be speaking about Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada accepting Sanyas on his anniversary. Over to you, Prabhu.
Om Ajnanaatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Angulangayate Vyam Yatkrpatamaham Vande Shri Guru Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Chaitanyeshwaram. It's a very auspicious day today to be with you all and discussing about Srila Prabhupada's taking initiation. Even though it is a particular day, but Srila Prabhupada came to this world as a sannyasi itself. Actually, what is sannyasi? What does it mean? How do we understand from the Shastra, and how do we understand from the Acharyas? These are all very important for us to have a clear understanding. Each one, an exalted person gives a different meaning of, and there is hidden meaning also about what exactly is sannyas ashram. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu made this statement in Chaitanya Madhya Leela. He's talking about Kiba Vipra Kibanyasi Shudre Kenanai Ye Krishna Tattva Vitsai Ye Guru Haya. So if one becomes a guru, he is automatically a Brahmana, caste guru, Tattvavita, as long as he is not going to speak about Chaksha Tattva, then even if he is sannyasi, if he is a Brahmana, no use. So the gurus are of Vartamana Pradaksha, Shiksha Guru, Diksha Guru. So I'll find everybody is coming to the point of making a jiva understand the purpose of the birth. So sannyas ashram plays a very important role. And Lord Chaitanya himself is talking about, the core secrecy of a sannyasi in a Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. So that is what we have to look at. What is he doing actually? Prithvi Tyache Nagaradigram Sarvat Hoy Prachar Moranam. So he is a sannyasi, a person who is always thinking about Krishna. Not just thinking about Krishna, talking about Krishna, spreading all over the world. So a sannyasi is, in the typical understanding, is limited to one place. He will not travel. He will be doing a lot of austerities. So many things he will be doing. But a Krishna conscious person, according to the Gaudiya Vaishnava aspect, the moment he surrendered to Krishna, whether it's a grahastha, sannyasi, brahmachari, is already a sannyasi. Sannyasi means two aspects. We accept certain things, we reject certain things. Now, material world, what we do is we understand is a sannyasi kind of thing is we accept and later on reject. Spiritual understanding is we reject first, then we accept later. So how do we understand this? Is in material world you accept so many things, but after some time you see they are of no use to you. But spiritually now we are accepting many things, but they are always with us. So this is the crux of teachings of Lord Chaitanya, where what is favorable to us and what is not favorable to us has to be seen through the spiritual eyes and through a guru. So Guru Mukha Padma Vakya, when we see through the eyes of a guru, you can understand that what he sees, he will show us, which is conducive to our progress of spiritual life. And what he shows, which he doesn't want to show, is which is not favorable to our progress in Krishna consciousness. From a talk between Lord Shiva and Parvati, she is asking one definition of exactly who Guru is. So Srila Lord Shiva says, Guruvo Baho Shanti Chintya Vitta Prahalakau Durlabho Sadhu Guru Devi Chintya Satapi Paharakau. That means very difficult to get a bona fide guru. But he says there are many gurus who take advantage of disciples and plunder them. This is happening in the world. All of us can see. And so many gurus are there. They're just taking the money and, doing things which is not favorable. At the same time, he says they exploit the disciples, the innocence of disciples. Yesterday I was speaking to a well-known person and about understanding about the person who gives you instructions. So when they were explaining to me, I could feel that this was not bona fide, even in among Gaudiya Vaishnava, where they were hammering on this point, you have to go through me only to the Guru. So these are all things which are aberration Krishna consciousness. Somebody, we may help them into taking up Krishna consciousness. We are just a facilitator. We don't own them. So all these things is a very important point where Lord Shiva is making, Lord Shiva to Parvati. But that guru is one who removes the miseries of the disciple is very rare. The second portion is so important, is that guru who removes the miseries of his disciple is very rare. So conclusion by Lord Shiva with the Parama Vaishnava, he's sharing this aspect. Now you can understand who Srila Prabhupada is and what he did, what he is going to, what he has done, what he is doing, what is going to happen later. So if we analyze Srila Prabhupada along with this particular sloka, what Shiva is discussing with Parvati, is it not Srila Prabhupada really helping this whole world to come out of these miseries. The people here, so many people have taken up to Krishna consciousness. That means he gives the discriminative power, what to accept, what to not accept. So speciality of our Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya, especially Sanyas, are shown by Srila Prabhupada is rejection, then acceptance. So devotees must, refine their conception of divinity. So unless we understand what is that we are looking for, then the aspiration to reach that destination goal is actually the process of sannyas. The moment you are taking up the Krishna consciousness, from there, reaching that goal is the process. So you may be in different body, you may be in different ashram, but the process has already started. Sannyasa is not a symbolic aspect, say wear some dress, have some danda, it is 1 stick or 3 sticks, but it is not like that. It is to understand oneself how to reject things which is not favorable for making progress in Krishna. Miseries of life, how to get over the miseries of life is 3 modes. Then there are other aspects of which is higher, where you get stuck up in the higher aspect of serving the society, serving the people around, social service, so many things. We are also, that is another type of where we get obligated. We get obligated from the friends, family, so many things happen. So when the social, coming out of social obligation, dedicated oneself with mana vacha, the soul actually takes up to the spirituality when the conclusion is to serve the Lord. Serving the Lord means his devotees. So from the Shastra, we can understand Avanti Desha Brahmana, he is talking about Aham Tarishyami Durante Param. I want to cross over the ocean of nations, become firmly fixed up. Astaya Parama Paratma Nishtam. That means if my astha are surrendered to the lotus feet of Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is Paramatma, who is Mukunda. So Avanti Brahmana is speaking about that, getting out of nuisance. So Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shala. So who else in this world we have come across like Srila Prabhupada, who has shown us the way to become a real sannyasi, not just the external coverings. So this determination, one and Acharya helps us to make that kind of determination and commitment and go towards that. That person is really that sannyasi. So Bhagavad Gita, Anastrita karma palam karyam karma karotiya. That means if one simply renounces, he is not a sannyasi, he says. Nirbandha Krishna Sambandha, that is Vairagya Uchyate. To fix one's aspiration with great determination. The point what I'm trying to make is I'm making the fundamentals clear so that to understand what Srila Prabhupada is from the understanding from the Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy. Here example of Raghunath Das Goswami, he was a Grihastha. But at the same time, what is he talking about? He is talking about exclusive devotion to only Srimati Radharani. So our parampara, which is, I'm only talking about Gaudiya Vaishnava parampara. So from that you can see, Raghunath Das Goswami, he says, I'm a shameless person to make this statement, he says, that I don't want to serve Krishna and I don't want to serve Vrindavana, but I want to serve only Srimati Radharani. I am seeking her mercy. So last Sunday when Radharani's, we were all discussing about her pastime. There, the same thing what I'm speaking about, the mercy of Radharani is Srila Prabhupada himself. How it is expanding. So here Raghunath Das Goswami is talking about the same thing. Clearly that worshipping Srimati Radharani, following her instructions and resenting everything. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is talking in Chaitanya Charitamrita. His name is actually Prayojana Tattva Acharya, he says, Raghunath Das Goswami. His aspiration of serving Srimati Radharani and showing to the world. So among the Chaitanya followers, he is titled as Prayojana Tattva Acharya. Absolute dependence, complete dedication to the service of Srimati Radharani. So what not, how Srila Prabhupada fits in there. So this is the conclusion of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. So when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually met Keshav Bharati, he was taking from Sanyas ashram from him. First, he wanted to know what exactly Keshav Bharati is going to give him. So usually the Shastra is speaking about Tattvamasi. That means to say that these are all part of our books, which is all there. I'm just repeating the same thing. So Tattvamasi means I am that, you are that. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he is asking Keshava Bharati, what is that mantra you're going to give me? So before that only, so Murari Gupta is revealing these things. Why did Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, what he wanted to know from Keshava Bharati. When he said, I'm going to speak about Tattvamasi, he just little changed it. He says, Tattvamasi, you are that. But here he specifically says, you are his. So I am his. I belong to my guru. So I belong to so and so. My parents are this. So he changed those words to this is prescribed in the I am Krishna's. I belong to him. So this is what is we learned the guhyam, the secret of secrets, what we understand from Gaudiya Vaishnavas. Therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used that to put this inside the ear of, I say, I am his. So meaning of this mantra is given by Sanatana Goswami very clearly. I belong to Srimati Radharani and I should only engage in his service. So when we are chanting Hare Krishna mantra, there's nothing else other than the conclusion of where Srimati Radharani is speaking about that the energy potency of the Lord is just encouraging us to serve Krishna better and better. And she is Tadiya, that means the most dear to Lord. So this is what Srila Prabhupada has shown us to us. He spread Krishna consciousness all over the world and brought so many to her lotus feet. So it's kind of, which is called as confidential service, which is called as Rasa Leela, is actually our Sankirtan Leela. It is defined there. So Gaur Leela, Sankirtan Leela, or Krishna Leela are nothing but part and parcel of expansion, what Srila Prabhupada taught all of us. So Gaur Leela means distributing the holy name to Tom, Dick and Harry around the world, irrespective of whether they deserve it or not. So that was Audarya, Namo Mahavadanya. And who could do that was Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada actually quotes this particular verse, Aradhya Bhagavan Rajeshtanya Taddanma Vandhavana. Ramya Kachid Upasana Vrajavado Vargena Yakal. So this particular word, Ramya Kachit Upasana Vrajavado Vargena Yakalpita, Prabhupada has repeated 67 times. So from this we can understand you have to keep nailing our mind more and more with the thoughts of what Srila Prabhupada has given us. He talks about Ramya Kachid Upasana Vrajavado Vargena. That worship of the Gotris of Vrindavana is the highest. And Srila Prabhupada established Radha Krishna temples everywhere. So you could see as a Grasta what he did when he was in earlier time. Then when he took up sannyas, what he'd do. And when he was in Vanaprastha, what he was doing. You can here clearly see how Srila Prabhupada was emphasizing on, worshipping Radha and Krishna, chanting the holy name and spreading this movement. He's talking about very, very clear, emphatically. So when you say 67 times, we have heard Mahaprabhu hearing Bhagavatam 108 times, so many pastimes of the Lord. Is nothing but emphasizing, the more number of times we hear these things, it gets registers in our heart. We try to by heart many things, but the same by hearting, when we realize the meaning of it, then it is a natural process. So the point which I'm trying to share with you is that Srila Prabhupada's the position of his, it is not so significant that he took sannyas and what's happening. But he was already a sannyasi right from the day go, and he took up the Krishna consciousness, everything he was doing. So what externally, what is visible is not so important. Here, what is important, what is there internal. Actually, we are only, when you see the pastimes of Krishna in Vrindavan and the pastimes of the Brahmanas, or they were doing the yagnas. So when they all went there, they were doing all the yagnas, but they did not identify Yagna Purusha himself. But the girls of Vrindavana, means all those young girls, they had nothing else other than whatever you want, we'll give you. We are simple girls. We have no qualification. We are only family life. We have not done any austerities. Can you really accept this? We don't know Vedas. So these are the talks they are speaking about. So Krishna very clearly, he is suggesting to all of us, we also should follow in the mood of Radharani, because he is also aspiring as Lord Chaitanya. So Krishna was feeling so guilty that he had neglected such love at that time when he went out. So when he came back, he was feeling that Srimati Radharani's lotus feet, that he was expiring as Lord Chaitanya in Chaitanya Leela. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu clearly says, proof that I have no love for Krishna is that I have not left my body in separation that I'm going. This is the statement he's making. Even though he's personification of that, but he says, still, I don't have that kind of love. So what is the use of this body? So the time and again, the point of surrender he comes to is this particular sloka, Astlisyava pada ratam pinasya madarshanam armatam karotuva yatha tatava vidhato lampato matprananata suyevana paraha. So this is the ultimate understanding of surrender. Srila Prabhupada, when he was traveling to the America, he wrote in his prayer, Nacho Gavo. That means to say, you please, if you wish, you can make me dance and I shall dance. If you don't want me to dance, I will not. So this is the mood that Srila Prabhupada, he took up, that the renounce order, both which is external, which is internal significance. Many times it is external, we think, oh, he's a sannyasi, but what he has to give, we don't know. What he delivers could be disaster. So these are all points which are very highlighted by our Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya, and especially Srila Prabhupada's life history. Everything is abundantly more concentrated on how to give up things and how to pick up things. This is what Srila Prabhupada taught us. There is no Markata Vairagi at all. What is favorable? Nirbandha Krishna Sambandha. Otherwise, so it was in 1959, September 17th, which is in a part of Satswarup Das Goswami's Prabhupada Lilamrit. He's in 59, he's 25-foot DT. So room it was, on the second floor, Keshuvji Mat, a group of devotees were sitting before Radha and Krishna. Deities were colorfully dressed in royal clothing, silver cloth. I'm just sharing. Radharani's right hand faced the palm towards the benediction for a Vapar worshipper. As her side left hand was the flower for Krishna. Krishna stood like a dancer, placing his right leg in the casual tiptoe pose before left, playing his long silver flute. He held gracefully. They are explaining how the features of the Lord. And he was so soft, straight black hair. It was well decorated. On the below deities were all picture of the disciplic succession: Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj, Bhakti Vinod Maharaj, Thakur Gaurkishore Das Babaji Maharaj, Bhaktivedanta Swati Thakur. Then Bhakti Premang Keshav Maharaj was also there. So Abhayji at that time, his name was, he was sitting, they had given him a mat of kusha grass, and beside him there was an old person. This is also a point to be noted, who was 90 years old. Sanyasa day, sitting opposite two candidates, and Narayan Maharaj, one of the Srila Prabhupada's God brother's disciple, a spiritual uncle. So he was making the all the preparations for chanting the right mantras, and he was preparing the yagna, hotra, everything he was arranging. Then there was another devotee, Akindana Krishnadas Babaji, another God brother of Srila Prabhupada. He was singing, sweet singing, playing mridangam, and all Vaishnavas. Sitting on the raised asan, His Holiness Keshav Maharaj, he came there, he sat down. Since there had been no notice invitation, only a few people were all there. You look at that day when Srila Prabhupada was taking his Sanyas ashram, nobody was there. Today, whole world is celebrating, and we are looking at, even though it is a virtual aspect, we are visualizing everything. But what a boon we all have. It's as good as we are sitting there and looking at Srila Prabhupada taking Sanyas ashram and Lord Chaitanya taking his Sanyas ashram. Only the difference there was Lord Chaitanya had a beautiful hair. They were about to cut. Everybody was crying. So you could see the spiritual symptoms the bodily exhibits. So today we are hearing about Srila Prabhupada taking. These are all achintya. It can happen simultaneously anywhere. It cannot be in a mundane platform. Everything we have to see personally, grossly, and all that. And spiritual realm, all this can be seen through the mind. You can, through the intelligence, you can have everything right in front of you, and understand. So this is a special blessing what we all have. So only Keshav Maharaj and few others spoke English there, and so they asked Srila Prabhupada to speak in English. Actually, Srila Prabhupada was not prepared to speak also, but they asked him. So Abhay, after Srila Prabhupada spoke, then he received his sannyasi danda, the traditional high staff made of three. Kaya, Manasa, Vacha represents that. And he got the saffron clothes. At the earlier time, he had a brahmachari clothes already. And he had, they gave him saffron cloth, sannyasa garments, one piece of saffron cloth for dhoti, and one for a top piece, and 2 strips of underwear was given to him. So you could see, if we open our cupboards, how many pairs of dresses are there. But I'm not against that, but trying to see an exalted Acharya of Srila Prabhupada. So this is the external aspect of that, how a sannyasi should be. So a grihastha ashram also, wherever, whatever necessity, we keep. That's the, again, aspect of that external and what is internal. So how a Krishna conscious person, whether grihastha or a vanaprastha or in the process of sannyasa ashram, he also knows what to keep, what not to keep. So here the bottom line, what I'm trying to say is, sannyasa is, for Krishna conscious people, is nothing but rejection of material things. Then the same material thing, acceptance of that only in the service of Krishna, including the body, which is given by Krishna. So this is the real sannyasa mean. So Keshav Maharaj said, Abhay would be known as Bhaktivedanta Swami. Already he gave the title Bhaktivedanta Swami. So you can know from all this is, why did Srila Prabhupada was given Bhaktivedanta? So from the name which is given, and today if you see what all he has done, Srila Prabhupada, who can really match that Bhaktivedanta? Everything he had in the world. A time was there where there was nothing other than the holy name, other than the books, what he was trying to, other than the instructions of Srila Prabhupada, his spiritual master. Then there was a day where he had almost conquered the world, going to different places. But nevertheless, his heart was the same. Nothing but engaging everything. Nirbandha Krishna Sambandha. Huh? So this is what Srila Prabhupada is. The more deeper we go understanding Srila Prabhupada's life or his disciples, so many have given up, follow Srila Prabhupada in the same way. So they are all exemplary, but they are not asking us to give up anything. They are asking us to engage, just follow in the footsteps of Srila Prabhupada as a Grasta, what he did, as in the earlier time as a business person, what he did. So Keshav Maharaj did not impose any strictures on Srila Prabhupada. He simply encouraged him to go and preach. Many times we think that Guru Maharaj will give this instructions. But from this you can understand that what did Keshav Maharaj do? He says simply go on preaching. What does our spiritual master say? Go on preaching. What is Srila Prabhupada telling? Preaching. So preaching means we are in the process of doing two things. Miseries of the world, of the people around us, that is, you're trying to help them to get over it. At the same time, they are becoming part of embracing the spiritual bliss, which is Krishna consciousness. So one part of the sannyas ashram, which the people say rejection, is actually integration. What we understand from Gaudiya Vaishnava, there's nothing rejection at all. Everything is integration, and also the right, put it in the right use. So he had this, when he had done the what he was trying to, Bhaktivedanta Swami, he was giving us family, home, comfort, business. That he had done already 5 years ago. He had already done, changing from white cloth to saffron cloth, and from Abhay Bhava to Bhaktivedanta Swami had a special significance. It was a mandate he required, irrevocable commitment. Highlight the word irrevocable commitment. So you see the moment why we take, especially sannyasis are, respected everywhere. Actually, saffron cloths has this significance, and when somebody becomes sannyas, they are also respected. But nowadays, because of so many people are misusing these dresses, so people have lost faith. Yesterday night, and there was one person who neighbor came from US. He is just shifted, just my neighbor, a young boy about 46. He is a person, he's in cybersecurity, very top. He has come down just to take care of his father. He lost his mother. He said, I asked, what made you come here? You are three of you. No, we three came, but my relationship with my father, I thought I have to serve him. So he came. So look at this. This is what is Krishna consciousness all about. A father and the Supreme Father. A guru and Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. So it's a irrevocable commitment. Now it was only a matter of time where Srila Prabhupada would travel to the whole world and fulfill the desires of or instruction of Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. So this is actually the realization what we understand from Srila Prabhupada's sannyasa taking up. The bottom line is he took up that where people will respect him more so that he can travel all over the world. At that time, he was, sannyasis were well respected. That's how he went around the world. So it is there already, the future, what Srila Prabhupada did is there in front of us. His disciples have read. So when we see in Leelamrit, every moment you can see, nobody can really match the real status of sannyasa ashram, what Srila Prabhupada took. There was everything about integration about. He did not reject anybody. Even a disciple was not doing well, he didn't even reject him. But he was always making sure that he has come to Krishna somehow, some difficulty is there, we have to get over it. So this was also recorded by Gaudiya Patrika about the sannyas initiation, and a biographical sketch of Srimati Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada was recorded, and major events was also announced. So the words were like this. The article concluded like this. He says that seeing enthusiasm, the ability to write articles in Hindi, English, and Bengali, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj gave him instruction to take up Tridandi Sannyas. For nearly 1 year, he has been ready to accept sannyas. In the month of Bhadra, on the day of which Vishwarupa accepted sannyas, Bhaktivedanta Swami accepted Keshav Bharati's Gaudiya Math, gave him sannyas. And the Maharaj Bhakti Pragnana Keshav Maharaj gave him that and gave him a title as Bhaktivedanta. They already knew how he was. Seeing his accept this ashrama renunciation, seeing the pastimes, we have attained the great affection and enthusiasm. Even just by hearing all this, there is a jubilation with all of us. So Chaitanya Charitamrita, there are some quotes where Srila Prabhupada himself is speaking. He says, concluding words of Srila Prabhupada, fortunately, even at our first meeting with Divine Grace, advised me to preach Krishna consciousness. Srila Prabhupada is speaking about Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur. So he says, advised me to preach the cult of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in English in Western countries. Because at that time, I was a complete nationalist, a follower of Mahatma Gandhi. I submitted to his divine grace that unless our country is freed from foreign subjugation, no one would hear the message of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu seriously. This was the bone of contention of Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami. He was talking about his spiritual master. Of course, there was an argument and I was defeated and convinced that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's message is the only panacea for suffering for humanity to get out of this. I was also convinced that the message of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was then in the hands of a very expert devotee, and surely that message would spread all over the world. And I could not, however, immediately take up his instructions to preach, but I took his words very seriously. Mind this word, what Srila Prabhupada is talking about. I could not, however, immediately take up his instructions to preach, but I took his words very seriously and always thinking of how to execute his order, although I was quite unfit to do so. Srila Prabhupada's humility. There are some points which we also have to meditate. Sometimes we are with the devotees. Sometimes we have, expectation from her, why he is not surrendering, why he is not. Here is the point Srila Prabhupada is making crystal clear. When a devotee makes progress and make decisions in life, we cannot comprehend those things. When, what time he is doing, how he is doing. So sometimes we may be misunderstanding a position of a jiva. Hey, this guy has got so much money. This guy has got everything in life. Why isn't he not giving now? This why is a dangerous aspect. This is what clearly is established here. It is each one's mentality, position of, he knows where he is. If he has difficulty, he will always look at his spiritual master or senior Vaishnavas where he can approach and take decisions. So it is not necessary for us to just give up because somebody is talking about. So here is one Srila Prabhupada, his Guru Maharaj told him that you take up this, but he immediately could not do because he had a social responsibility of so many things to do. So Srila Prabhupada says, in this way, I passed my life as an householder until 1950. I retired from family life as a vanaprastha. With no companion, I loitered until 1958, where I took sannyas. So you can see how much difference was there. Then I was completely ready to discharge the order of my spiritual master. Previously, in 1936, just before Divine Grace passed away, that is His Holiness Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, when he left, passed away at Janatpuri, I wrote a letter to him asking him what I could do to serve. In his reply, he wrote to me, dated 13th December 1936, ordering me in the same way to preach to the English, the cult of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as I heard from him. So where is 1936 and 1950 and 1958 he took sannyas. So you could see that there was always a preparation. The bottom line for all of us is we can always meditate and think about how we can serve this moment better, how we can expand this. Doesn't matter, we can't jump in. But certainly we can plan out our every 5 years, every 10 years. It is a preparation. So nobody has we can't question anybody just like that. So in the same way, many of the disciples of Srila Prabhupada in different times, they took up to Krishna consciousness completely. They took sannyas, some of them preached reached in Grast ashram, some are still brahmacharis. You can see that is not a criteria about where you are actually situated. What is in your mind? So here Srila Prabhupada very clearly says, I was meditating, how can I fulfill the desires of spiritual master? Every person in this material world, if he's a doctor, he wants his son to be a doctor. Every teacher, he wants his son or daughter to be. So it is aspiring for that. But if we are not qualified, or if we are jumping before what we can do, certainly it's a suicide. So it's a crystal clear for all of us to plan the future, meditate on the future, but work on the present situation towards that goal. This is Sanyas Ashram. When we are making our preparation to make sure, just like the examination is there, we are preparing from 1 year to what to do for that one day. In the same way, Krishna consciousness is all about a beautiful planning should be done. And time, place, and circumstances, Krishna reveals certain things and you accept certain things. In that process, Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra help us. So it's very, very important for us to know from this paragraph about how Srila Prabhupada was meditating from the day he met his Guru Maharaj and the day he was taking sannyas and later on. So when he passed away, Srila Prabhupada says he started the Back to Bhagavad magazine. It was sometime in 1944 and tried to spread this cult of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu through his magazines. So, so many people would take it up. So some people like, throwing away, but he made an attempt to start this. So here is a devotee who that Narayan Maharaj, which it's also there in that Leelamrit, where he is himself talking about Srila Prabhupada. He says, today is the day of Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Maharaj took sannyas. On this day he took sannyas. He's talking about it and he preached all over the world. He began from New York and from there he went to San Francisco, Los Angeles, and everywhere he established many preaching centers everywhere. The important thing is that he wrote and translated so many authoritative books. He wrote Easy Journey to the Planet, translated Bhagavata and Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Chaitanya. He's a spiritual uncle, Bhakti Rasamrita Singhu. In just few years, he preached all over the world. And after that, when he finished his duty, Krishna called him. Therefore, he left this world, joined the service of Radha and Krishna eternally. So the process he took to preaching was the process of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Nam Sankirtan. Rupa Goswami fulfilled the desire of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That's why it's about Manobhishtam. Those who have not offered their life at the lotus feet of Gurudev, who have no Guru Nishta, no attachment, no Vishta, will never make advancement in Krishna consciousness. So our sincere faith, our integrity, our commitment should be meditating on what Srila Prabhupada has given us. So in that process, a time will reveal where we will be very active preachers. We will also become very committed, but the process is there. So if one has no money, no learning, material qualities, but still if he surrenders, he can fulfill the Guru's desire. So Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada had no money. He had only desire to serve his Guru. It was meditating. And Krishna therefore arranged everything. So if Krishna is arranging everything for Srila Prabhupada, and we as sadhakas, if we want to fulfill Srila Prabhupada's mission, certainly Krishna 100% will cooperate. So in that process, but that desire, that creeping, that cry for help this grow, that has to be, watered. So our daily sadhana bhakti helps. So he preached all over the world. If one has no other qualification, they're like Nityam Prabhu and Mahaprabhu, they will arrange everything. So there are so many scholars in Mathura and Mathuras and so many people, but how many are really taking up the Krishna consciousness? So we all have been going so many times to Vrindavan, Mayapur, but most of us, we just stick to Srila Prabhupada's movement because we love him. So love, which matters a lot. When you love somebody, that means to say that something is which is really catching the eye. When I read Srila Prabhupada's life history in a small book, I said, this is the person. But whether I understood or not, I know this is the right person. So just hanging around almost more than 30 years till today. One thing what is happens to me is that Prabhupada is everything for me. I've been doing many things, but for me, I don't know what Sukruti I did. This is, and today I got an opportunity to share, talk about these things. It's so wonderful to talk about Srila Prabhupada. It's so wonderful to see his movement grow. It's so wonderful to be with you all. You are all going in that direction. The more we meditate on Srila Prabhupada, more Krishna is happy. The more benefits are coming in the way to help this. But the bottom line is we all should see that how more and more devotees around this world, around our temple, around wherever we are, they all take up to Krishna consciousness. So presenting Srila Prabhupada in the right mood, right attitude is very, very important. Otherwise, then people again misunderstand what's so great about Srila Prabhupada. Thus, in obeying the orders of his Gurudev, Bhaktivedanta Swami never cared for his life as such. He jumped over all the oceans and he went around the world, irrespective of heart attack, and he succeeded. And what else is a miracle? So this is the example we can learn from. And if you are hearing and chanting, if you have taken saffron cloth, and if you've taken sannyas, if you don't have Guru Nishtha, then everything is a waste. So it has been told in the Shastra, Koti, 10,000 millions of bhaktas. One pointed Krishna Bhakta is very rare. And Srila Prabhupada is like the one among them. Thousands of people. So many people are there today. But who can be attributed to that one point person? You can yourself, this is Pratyaksha Praman right in front of us, happening around the world. Really, who can match that? We should try to be, following in that direction. Narahari Sarkar was one of the associates of Lord Chaitanya. He was always with him. He wrote Ashtakam 8 slokas about him. In the first sloka, he says, Sachidananda Gaurahari was the leader of the cheater of the cheaters. He uses the word cheater of the cheater because he's making all this, the cheaters are in this world, making them Krishna consciousness, what else do you want? So that is the greatest of the cheaters. This is the hidden meaning of the real cheater. He is making the world, get out of their ignorance. So he is Krishna himself. He took up the sannyasa. He attributes all this to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Even though he's Supreme Personality of Godhead, he took the sannyasa ashram and he was following that. Nothing but he was trying to cheat. He cheated all the people in Varanasi by his humility. So in that way, he brought them all from Mayavada to Tattvavada and finally brought them to the Lord's feet of Lord Radharani. So Srila Prabhupada, coming in that parampara, he also did the same thing. He went to the Western world. They were thinking they were superior, most intelligent people. Srila Prabhupada just made them humble, cheated them with their own illusions, got them out and made them great devotees of Lord. Today we are all taking initiation from some exalted devotees who are following in that parampara. How fortunate we are. Actually, we should meditate on ourselves, thinking about this. What fortune did I do? Today I am with devotees. I have got a wonderful guru, Srila Prabhupada, and so many Vaishnava associations. So in Prabhupada folio, Srila Prabhupada talks about this mission of Lord Chaitanya. He says, I am describing the mission of Lord Chaitanya. Mahaprabhu is instructing us that the only lovable object is Krishna, and the only lovable land is Vrindavana, and the process of loving Krishna, doing their service, is shown by vivid example of the gopis. There are different stages of devotees, but the gopis of the highest platform. This is conferred by Srila Prabhupada. Among the gopis, the supreme is Radharani. Therefore, nobody can surpass Radharani's love for Krishna. So Lord Srila Prabhupada says, Lord Chaitanya recommends, as Krishna is worshipped by the damsel of Vrindavan Dham, that is the highest, topmost grade of worship, because that was a pure love. The damsel of Raja loved Krishna so much without any return. That sublime thing Srila Prabhupada recommended That is the highest of worship. Again, Srila Prabhupada quotes in another place. So Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Man banava mad bhakto. He quotes that, just becoming my lover and my devotee, man banav, just worship me and offer your obeisance to me. In this way, mam evashisi, you will come back to me without those. Oh, this is the benefit of Krishna conscious. And Prahlad Maharaj is also the teaching the same thing. He says that Manushya Janma is very, very important. Right from childhood, you have to practice. Prabhupada is quoting that Krishna consciousness, somehow or the other, then their life will be successful. Don't spoil your life otherwise. These are the instructions we have begun and we shall continue. If you please, come, we shall talk further. And Prabhupada concludes, and I also conclude here. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. If somebody wants to share some reflections and other things, I am open. If by mistake also, if I have done something, spoken something, please forgive me. I'm also trying to follow Srila Prabhupada, but many times we do mistakes. So seeking forgiveness and going and seeing in the shelter of all Vaishnavas like you all, I also have a hope that someday I'll be able to serve better and better. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, Dhanavad Pranams. Thank you for the real inspiring class. I think you shared so many words, which is very, very deep rooted and a lot of things to reflect. You wonderfully talked about the role of a guru. Very nicely you pointed out to say one who takes away our miseries, which is what is very important aspect to cover, and also from our parampara, how what it actually means, and and then you also wonderfully shared this journey of Srila Prabhupada and the moment when he took sannyas, and so many points with reference to how we can meditate in terms of to be in the right mood and attitude, and how we can serve the moment. We should meditate towards that, which is a very, very deep reflecting point for me. And as you said, reading Srila Prabhupada's Leelamrita is a very, very amazing experience, because we get a very deep love for Srila Prabhupada, and I've got whatever little bit I've got right now is only because of that. Thank you, Prabhu. So I just open the lines. Devotees can just speak up and share their comments and reflections.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you very much for the wonderful class. Prabhu, you were telling about the cheater of the cheaters. You were very fast when you're telling that. I mean, we didn't catch it.
Okay, I'll repeat it. Cheater of the cheaters means in this world, you will find all cheaters, right? Means very rarely you will find but if you can cheat that person to take him to Krishna consciousness, so he uses that way of the skill what Lord Chaitanya used to get these people out of that. And same thing Srila Prabhupada did in the Western world. So when people are too much puffed up in their knowledge or in their what they inherited positions, Aishwarya, so many things are there. At that time, it is very difficult for them to take up the Krishna consciousness. At that time, if those kind of people, if they have to take up to Krishna consciousness, you have to be very humble in that way. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is himself Krishna. He could just with a wink, he could change. But the point is, because the jiva has a freedom, it has the privilege of misusing that freedom. So to get them on board, it is not easy. So that's why Lord Chaitanya used this speciality. That's why Narottam Das Thakur says he is the cheater of the cheater. Like even Krishna is called like that. So when he can take away the miseries of world which you don't know and bring them to Krishna consciousness, is on a positive note, this is spoken about. Is it okay?
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Anybody else can share? I want to hear too. Did I speak something wrong? Any more reflections?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you very much for sharing the nectar and also your realization. Thank you, Prabhuji. And as you said, I'm not sure, what is that I have done something to be part of Prabhupada's movement. And it's really an inspiration to see how we can meditate and how we can plan to serve Krishna and Prabhupada's movement better. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Malini Mataji can share something.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Prabhuji. Thank you for the
Dandavat
very
Pranam.
class.
So you are the cause of my sitting here?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, it's the other way around, Prabhuji. Prabhu, we always indebted to you for many lifetimes.
Go ahead.
Prabhuji, actually I have no qualification even to talk about Prabhupada, but as you mentioned, without Prabhupada, we are...
Prabhu, it's you who guided us totally and mentored us. Hare Krishna. Wonderful class, Prabhu. Mali, you speak.
So you mentioned that in a moment, we can get transformed. That's very true in our case also. So we remember how our past was and how rotten, what a life we were leading. But just by the mercy of Prabhupada and Shiksha Gurus like yourself, Prabhuji, we are what we are today because of you. So please keep blessing us. Please shower your blessings on us always, your guidance.
I would be happy if you could relate something with Srila Prabhupada, what he has done to you.
I could say that we are from a Brahmin background, but Smartas. So it's had a very different understanding of spirituality and God and all that. Like all is and everything is one. So so after Krishna consciousness has taught us a complete clear view of everything. Srila Prabhupada is through his books. That's one thing. The other one is about proper behavior, values and all that. Although we grew up in that kind of atmosphere, the real practical application is only when we joined Krishna consciousness. Just observing other devotees, learning from them. And for that, we are always very grateful, Prabhu.
Right, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Yeah,
Gaur Chandra Gopinath can share something.
Sorry, Prabhu, Hare Krishna. I took some time to unmute. Prabhu, you told wonderful how this Chaitanya movement and Prabhupada movement is preaching the Hare Krishna mantra. How is he could have tricked everyone? So that was a wonderful realization what you told about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Thank you so much, Prabhu, for the wonderful nectar.
Hare Krishna. Sneha, you want to speak something?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. It was a wonderful class. It was wonderful knowing about what a true sannyasi is. It's not only external, but also from within, we should try and become a true sannyasi. So that was like really catchy. Usually when we perceive sannyasis, we see, we have that, we see them as, okay, they are supposed to be in a certain way. We always have that presumed thoughts, but today's class was really eye-opening on, how it is internally and more internally and less externally. So that was really nice. Thank you.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Sachidananda Prabhu, you want to share something? Pramod Nitai can go next.
Haribol Prabhu.
Yes.
Just wanted to share one thing, that only Prabhupada's ISKCON can accommodate everyone. in this material world, irrespective of caste, creed, social background, or anything. So other cults, they are doing well, but only they're limited to their religion. But Prabhupada's ISKCON can accommodate each and every one of us in this world. That's the beauty of Prabhupada's ISKCON.
Hari Hari, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Anybody else?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, I want to share one more thing actually.
Yeah, please.
During my very initial years of ISKCON, when I was associating with my Shiksha Guru and we were reading through Bhagavad Gita, so Prabhupada was hammering severely about impersonalism and Mayavada philosophy. So that point of time, I couldn't really understand why Prabhupada was actually hammering about impersonalism rather than describing. Of course, he has described, but every verse or any verse if you take, there will be some hammering about impersonalism. So I was not so clear. So I was asking my Shiksha Guru why it is so. So what he told me was that you continue to chant, and these lines will be revealed to you at appropriate time as you spend more and more time in Krishna consciousness. And I got to know that few years back why Prabhupada was so heavy on impersonalism, because in somewhere he also says that in some terms atheists are better, but impersonalists are more dangerous because they may actually take people to hell. That type of statement was there, but I understood why actually Prabhupada was so strong on them. And another point, Prabhuji, actually in the initial days, it was sometime in 2008 and 2007. I wasn't aware that Prabhupada was not physically there with us anymore. So after starting reading and chanting, when I was in Tokyo, that time I was asking my Shiksha Guru that where is this Acharya lives? When I can go and meet him. When I go to India, I told him that I want to meet, because the instructions were so live and so personal. So I thought he is still living somewhere in India. And he said no, he actually passed away about way back in 1977. I was really shocked, because a person who left the body 25 years, 30 years back at that time, and how his instructions are so lively and personal. So that was actually really inspired me, Prabhuji.
Certainly. And just like you said about Mayavadi hammering, now he hammered another point is that 67 times he's talking about Ramya Kachad Upasana, wherever he's talking about. So these also we have to register that how we can take up the mood of serving Srimati Radharani through our parampara. He also is emphasizing on that. He established all the temples with Radha Krishna. So we have to be extremely careful. And worship of them is very simple. That's what Srila Prabhupada is talking about. We are just common people today. They give us secondary initiation, and we go and we are go inside the altar. You start worshiping them, serving them. That means you can understand that we don't have any knowledge, but we are just. My Guru Maharaj is telling you do it. So this is what is the conscious all about. That becoming ignorant of the fact that whatever you are, and just serving the Guru's instructions. And this is the way Srila Prabhupada, he was emphasizing repeatedly more and more in that way. Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you very much. Anybody else?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you for the wonderful inspirational class, Prabhu. So for me, it is very important to be inspired again and again. So thank you so much for that. And Prabhupada's books have been really an eye-opener. I was beating around the bush. I did not know what is what. I had some sense, we should be in a good path, that kind of thing. But actually what it is, no clear idea, nothing. But really wanted to endeavor, do something in something good. But never knew what it is actually, unless I came across Prabhupada's books. The first book I came across is when I was traveling from Bhopal to Chennai. I was in 10th standard. I got one small book. I could not understand anything from that other than one thing, that who is controlling, the colors in the flowers, scientists are not really controlling them. They can predict something, but they don't control. Only one point from that entire book struck me, and it remained with me until many years later. I got to know about ISKCON movement very later. Till then, I did not have any clue of the movement. So that after that, again, I got to read the books. That was a really eye opener. And another thing is, I used to travel a lot, like 60 kilometers one side in Chennai and come back. I used to ponder, there are so many poor people, like, what they are going to do, what is their aim, like that. Now, I also wanted to cling to one mantra that I can always, I just hold on to it. I don't want to leave that mantra anytime. I wanted something like that. Then I did not get it that time. That many years later, I got to, Hare Krishna Mahamantra I got. Then I realized, so probably, this is what Lord was waiting to give me. So that way, I am always indebted to all the Vaishnavas and Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
All right, thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Over to you, Ravi Lochan Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu. So, I just want to share one thing. Prabhupada, he's been a very different kind of a sannyasi from my point of view. When I was seeing, he was very pragmatic and practical. He was not like other sannyasis who will talk very less. He conveys so much of message, but in a very simple way, which we can apply on a day-to-day basis. I mean, he would not take spirituality away from something else. He will make it as part of our life, and we can mix it and blend it and live very peacefully, in harmony. And Prabhupada always talked of United Nations. He said Krishna consciousness movement, ISKCON is the United Nations, and it's so practical. It's so actually true, because absolutely there is no discrimination. It's inclusiveness, and I mean, I think this is the only society I can think of which doesn't ask you anybody's background. It just tells it just talks you about the future, not about the past, which is really very, very. I mean, I would say which is the need of the hour also. I mean, very important that this can be spread even more.
Right.
Thank you. Yeah. So we just conclude with the Vaishnava Pranam. Thank you again for the wonderful, inspiring class. Srila Prabhupada.
I got Hari Hari.
I'll just end the session now.